Good morning, how are you? It's Thursday, I think May the 11th, and I am just getting the vessels ready for a big birthday party in Devon this weekend. I'm going to be delivering the flowers tomorrow, but I also have students here today, and so they're learning about flower farming and floristry and how to grow flowers for a living and what the whole thing involves. So, as is often the case, this is one of those put your students to work days. So I'm going to be working with them so they get to know a little bit about timing, stem counts, being creative within very strict structures so that you can achieve your objectives quite quickly. So come along for the ride. We're making our ordinary orders. I always sell out when I've got big workshop weeks in advance because I can't do everything, but I do have regular orders that I can't avoid, and which is my pleasure to do. So we'll be doing the regular orders as well as prepping this event down in Devon, and then I'll take you down to Devon and show you it's a really lovely venue called Huncham Court. I've been there before a few times over the years, so it'll be nice to see it post-pandemic. So come along for the ride. First job, wash up and make very shiny 6 table centre vessels. No two the same. Here's a top tip. Now, you may not know this, but my clips are always full of top tips. And if the tips are helpful or useful, you can always buy me a coffee. There's a link in the blurb to all my clips and my bio and elsewhere for buying me a coffee. Anyway, here's a top tip. Always wear an apron, because then you've got something to carry things around in. For example, clean jam jars. And while of course I keep my jam jars all clean on the shelf, it is sometimes they get a bit dusty or they've been around for a while. So I just run them through the dishwasher on a quick glass session so they come out really, really clean for my party flowers. And while I'm at it, shine up the flower frogs with it. Right, keep going. So here's today's cutting list. Not onerous, but charming. And the roaring noise you can hear this is a boiler. So here we are. This is what we're cutting and filling today. I've got my trolley ready. I'm just waiting for the students and then we'll get on. So in the distance, I have one student pulling little silver scilla for the party with the white flowers. And here in the polytunnel, we're collecting the last of the ranunculus. Thank you very much, Nikki. And here is lovely Sam, who's here from the Turning Tides project in Crediton in Devon, where they have a little cut flower farm just growing up in their big long allotment, and she's cutting the cineraria for me. 50 stems of cineraria go a long way in 18 jam jar posies and 6 table centres. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Always park your trolley in the shade. I do like these put your students to work days, but it's good because people begin to see what you're cutting, how to cut, how fast to cut, how quickly you can get things into buckets. Here come the white alliums. Oh, they're lovely. And so later in the afternoon, everybody's making posies for this party. And so we've been looking at how to make posies and what the skills are. And we're slowly filling the studio up with flowers. And it's very calm and stressful at the same time. And then over on this side, these are the everyday bouquets going out. So it's a complete different colour. And we're having a bit of a wow thing going over here with the purples. And in this mix, we've got the very first foxgloves. And this is the funeral of a gentleman. And so we've given him colour for joy and rosemary for remembrance and buttercups, because everybody needs a buttercup. And here's the drawing room up under number 1 Bruton. And you can see it's full of colour. So when I do flowers for this room, it's nice to know it's full of colour. and I just bring more colour in. And behind are Richard Pomeroy's beautiful mugs in all the colours of the rainbow too. So lots of local stuff going on in this gorgeous room. Here's fashionable Bruton through the window. Very fashionable it is too. Right, so it's Friday morning, time to finish off, make the rest of the posies and do the table centres. But first, there is the lovely funeral sheaf, and I'm going to pack that up. I'll show you. There you are. You get my gorgeous Rachel Pedder Smith mug with the blue butterfly for scale. But this is a really lovely, flat-backed bunch of flowers to lay on the coffin of a very, very much loved gentleman. And you might think the colours are quite wild, but I knew his hat. Well, I know where he lived. I didn't know him personally, but I know his neighbours quite well. And I remember there used to be bunches of sort of quite wild-looking flowers in the window when I was dropping flowers off visiting my friends. And so I've been very much inspired by the flowers that this chap used to have in his window. So yes, it is a bit of a wild, colourful mix for a funeral, but I do not believe in funereal funeral flowers. On the contrary, I think that flowers for funerals should be a celebration of life. And I just think particularly keen on the honeysuckle. And they're now in my front porch, ready to be collected. This is my click and collect shop where people collect their orders. I even had it specially painted last year with a new bright blue door to make it look cheerful. Right, back to the white flowers for the party. I like to listen to Radio 3. Right, so here come the posies. There are 3, and then there are 7, 13. It's Friday the 13th, so let's have a lucky 13 moment. And 18 posies all done. So now I'm going to do the table centres. I've still got 2 more jam jars, which I'm going to use for some little leftovers for a posy for my client's bedroom in her beautiful house for her party. Right, for my next trick, I will make 6 table centres. Fabrizio's just come in, but he's not going to say anything because I'm filming. What I've done is they've all got a frog and they've all been gridded because we've got to drive a couple of hours down to Honiton and it would be a shame if they collapsed on the way. I've tested them all for leaks because these old vases sometimes spring a leak unexpectedly and become useless and you have to throw them away, which is a shame, but there you go. And I'm going to do my usual thing, which is green them up first. Little by little. Hornbeam first, then a little splodge of winter flowering honeysuckle in each, then the silvery velvet of good old brachioglottis. Each vase gets a couple of stems and they get about the same because although the vases are different, if you give the same number of stems in the vases, obviously the size of the stem matches the vase, individual vase, then you end up with arrangements which have the same sort of weight. So while the vases are different, the weight of the arrangements are similar, and so it looks tidy while explosively exciting at the same time in the venue. Then, because we have a self-seeded blackcurrant bush in the lady smock patch, I never waste it when it's flowering and forming berries, because how delicious in a table centre for a dinner party. And now we get on to the adding a spot of cow parsley department. Then they all get a bobble of snowball bush. We're about halfway through. And here, a splash of Hesperus matronalis, or sweet rocket, depending on your mood. And wonderful balls of alliums, white alliums, a little oniony stink. But the stink actually disappears. The stink is from when you cut the stems. they don't smell horrible in the vase. So then I've added white lilac, and you can't really see it yet, but they're going to pop the first of the Lavatera, which is an annual tree mallow I grow in my polytunnel as well as outside. I successionally sow it. A little bit of Nigella there for green rather than colour. Traditionally, you're not supposed to cut honesty, because if you do, you cut the money. You see the seed head developing here? These will become the lovely silvery heads that I use in my Christmas decorations. But anyway, I've cut the honesty because I like it. It's interesting and structurally attractive. And also, my lovely client has paid me for this work. So if I give her my honesty in exchange, I feel as though it's fair exchange is no robbery. That amuses me anyway. And there they're pretty much done. I have added as a last detail a little sprig each of Telema grandiflora and a little spurt of these gorgeous Scilla. And each one has one buttercup. Now, the client has asked for white flowers or cream flowers, so that's what I've done. But this is a joke. If the client doesn't like it, they can take it out. But actually, what the buttercup does is it lifts the whole thing and stops it taking itself too seriously. Plus, I happen to know that the walls of the room in which the dinner is to be held are yellow. So this is a joke, but if the client doesn't like the joke, they can pull the buttercups out very easily. I've also added this grass, this stripy grass, which gives a sort of wild look, but it is a real bully in the garden. But it's also formal because it isn't a wild grass, it's a cultivar. But it gives a wild and hairy look. So if I were a florist and I was thinking of what I could grow in my garden that I couldn't buy, I would grow these details. I would grow the buttercups and the stripy grass and the Telema grandiflora, because if I was a grower growing to sell, I wouldn't be able to sell these for very much money because they're very fragile and their season is incredibly short. And a florist would say, but they're too small, I'm not going to pay you a reasonable amount of money for them. So a grower wouldn't grow the Telema grandiflora, but a florist might. I'm lucky because I'm my client, so I can grow I am the flower farmer for me, the florist, so I can grow to my taste, which really does make life a lot easier for me. How am I going to transport all this, you ask? Very, very, very good question, I reply. Right, well, the answer to the packing question is bale arm crates for the posies with 3 extra in a Tupperware. And then the bigger arrangements are going to go loose in the back of the car. Well, kind of, I'll show you. Right, 5 of the table centres, the big ones, in the back of the car, separated by buckets. Trays of posies on the back seat. Never go anywhere without a bucket of spares, a watering can and a spritzer. Final table centre in the front seat. Snips by the gear stick. Let's go. And this is the English countryside at its most beautiful. The lovely thing about doing these journeys is... Oh, sheep. I have to stop. The lovely thing about doing these journeys with a load of flowers in the back is you never know what you're going to come across. What a gift! I'll just sit here and let the sheep go by. We're in deepest, darkest Devon, which, as you can see, may be deep, but it's certainly not dark on a beautiful day like this. Welcome to the English countryside, everybody. The frothy stuff on the side is cow parsley, if you're in America and don't know it. Wow. Right, and here we are at our venue. High Victoriana, Huncham Court. Real grand English country house stuff. This is the drive. It has its own little church on the left, behind the cow parsley. In that lovely? And then look, here is the house. We'll go round the side and you get this amazing entrance. How's that for a grand old house? It's really something. Huge, with this lovely view over to the church. But I know my place. I'm going to go and find the servants' entrance. So that's a spare posy for the master bathroom. Look at that. Wouldn't you like to have a bath with your friend at the same time? Wow. And another spare posy, dinky linky, next to the very grand 5-star smarty pants. Can't fit it all in one shot bed. Look at that. Wow, I wouldn't mind spending a night here. And then here they all are in place. And you see how with a space this big, you kind of need fairly big table centres, otherwise they disappear. But the tables haven't been laid yet, so they can't fill up the whole space, but they do look lovely, though I say it myself. And then tomorrow evening, they're going to be rearranged and used again for a different kind of evening. But there you go. That is the Devon countryside at its most luxe and lush, as they say around here. And then here are the posies, which are in the butler's passage, and the bucket of spares in case for pudging for tomorrow night, because the posies and I both know our place. It is a really beautiful venue. Look, florist for scale in the reflection and all the old details. Right, enough of this, I better go home. So if you've enjoyed this clip or any of the clips, please do subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon, and we'll tell you when we've got more clips coming up. And if any of the tips and tricks I've given you have been helpful, please buy me a coffee. The link is in all the blurbs and the bios and all over the place. See you soon.